All right, everyone. John here with Crypto Top 10, coming at you with some of the trending articles in the crypto news space. Gonna have a nice quick one for you guys today. I mean, everyone is just eyeing that Bitcoin price with much anticipation, though I'm very happy to report we did hold 15K through the weekend. So I think that means pretty good things going into the week. Typically, you see a lot of volatility on the weekends as less people are doing trading. So if there was ever a time for Bitcoin to tank quickly, it was then. I'm hoping we can maintain 15 throughout the week, set a staple floor, and then bust through to 16, 17, 18, 20, 30, 40, 70, half a million. Whatever we're going to do, I'm very interested to see where we go. But as always, thanks to everyone who has subscribed. I really do appreciate it wherever you're finding this content, helping out this small little channel, making a go of it, just like the little engine that could. And there's a link down in the description, so pop on down there and you can check out all the articles, or there'll be a link that you can follow that'll take you to a place where you can find all the articles talked about today, so that way you can do your own research. So without further ado, let's hop on in and bust out these articles. So IOHK published a little progress update going through the Goguen era, which we are now in. Plutus and Marlowe are heading towards the deployment of financial contracts in Cardano. We're pretty excited for this around here. It's going to be pretty big. I do got to admit, I hold what I would consider to be a fairly large chunk of Cardano. Some would call it small, depending on what they've got going on. But I do hold it, so take that with a grain of salt. Everything I say. Just keep an eye on that, because I'm obviously biased, so do your own research. But hey, they're launching version 2.4.1 of the Daedalus wallet. I believe I've upgraded to that, but I haven't checked it out too much. It's going to have ranking support for groups. And the next version of Daedalus Flight is going to have support for Trezor. Trezor? I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But either way, it'll have support for Trezor's Model T, so that way you'll be able to stake using cold storage, which would be pretty darn nice. Cardano is up almost 10% over the past week, as are most cryptos. It's hovering around the 10-cent price point. I personally think that is a little underpriced for what they could be doing, but all eyes are on Bitcoin and Ethereum right now, so we'll take it. But their priorities are Goguen and Voltaire, and they're working on them in parallel. So in a recent update, they revealed that the Plutus team has been working on Nix code and refactoring structures. Oh yes, and also update paths and validation benchmarks. So all these big fun words that most of us don't know the meaning. But they're saying Marlowe's team has completed changes in the refactoring, which improved consistency in field standard types. They've updated the color scheme in the playground and repaired spacing problems in Blocky to improve contract transactions. They also updated Marlowe's tutorials and a technical publication on the topic for Cardano docs. So basically getting all their ducks in a row, so that way those of us in the community who actually know what these words mean can learn a little bit more about Marlowe and the coding. So, for those of you who don't know, Marlowe is a programming language for the financial contracts that are going to be published during Goggen's deployment, which should be happening fairly soon. They're conceiving it now as a DeFi platform. I'm sure it was not that originally. Marlowe, as a language, is going to be able to do a lot of different things, but right now, it's going to support financial functions and products such as contracts or difference, peer-to-peer loans, among other things. The platform will be of special interest to financial institutions, as they'll be able to develop customized tools for their customers on top of it, which is pretty darn nice. They are definitely preparing themselves for a big splash, though I hope they don't hold out too long, because we need to beat Ethereum to the punch if they want to make up any more ground. Not saying that they need to. I personally think the market is more than big enough for a multitude of different blockchains serving a multitude of different industries, and sometimes even within the same industry. Competition is good. But yeah, they're working on everything for this. Obviously, this next update for Daedalus Flight will support the Model T of Trezor. And then once they get into Daedalus 3.0, they'll actually have support for the Ledger Nano S and Nano X hardware wallet. So the two major crypto cold storage hardware wallets are going to be supported, well, the two major brands, though they're not going to have support for the Trezor 1. They're saying there's incompatibility with that version. However, I would say Trezor could easily update their code to make it more compatible, and IOHK could do a bit more work and bridge that gap. Still, this is kind of a rudimentary update, nothing too big to report, other than they're still plugging along in the regular fashion which they do. Honestly, I think we should have Goguen by the end of the year, as well as Voltaire, which is their governance model, updated. So things are still in the uptick for them. I'm glad to see it. But let's hop over and get a little update on Ripple. So for those of you who don't know, back in October, the San Fran-based fintech company announced that it no longer wants to be based in San Francisco. In fact, they don't really want to be based in the United States at all. The reasons why? Well, they're in a regulatory quagmire. So XRP, well, they're some people say they're security. In fact, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission seems to be leaning that way. And if that's the case, they could be in a heap of regulatory troubles. So while they are deciding on where to base their new headquarters, they just announced they're setting up a new regional HQ in Dubai. My personal opinion is probably they're going to set up a bunch of different regional HQs, and then whichever one provides them the best opportunity for long-term growth, they'll make that their primary one. And Dubai is actually a fairly decent candidate, and we'll get into this. So Ripple is going to be setting up shop in the Dubai International Financial Center. Yeah, they have one of those. It's a towering block that Ripple must is a strong word, I'd say gets to. They're going to share it with over 100 cafes, 3 hotels, and several art galleries. Oh, those poor Ripple employees, forced to eat in luxury, have places for family and friends to visit when they're in town, and get to experience all the culture that Dubai has to offer. Those poor bastards. On top of that, they'll be cohabitating this block with others in the DIFC, or the Dubai International Financial Center, FinTech Hive. So it's a co-working space where fintech companies can bounce ideas off each other. Bang. They do have a social distancing challenge going on right now, obviously because of COVID, so that might delay things a little bit, but it's nothing too crazy. So Navin Gupta, Managing Director for South Asia and MENA at Ripple, said in a statement, MENA is Middle East, North Africa. The firm's largest client base in MENA and South Asia has drawn it to the city. And though Dubai is a regional office, Ripple does definitely want to get its mother base out of Silicon Valley because of good old United States SEC. It's likely it's going to relocate its headquarters to a country that is much friendlier and whose securities regulator doesn't consider XRP to be a security, so they can try to sidestep those problems. Though the United States will most definitely be like, well, if you want to operate in our country, you have to comply with these things. So that could still pose a headache for them, but at the very least, if they can get their headquarters out of the way, they don't have to worry about their primary base of operations being stifled. So there we go. Let's talk about DEX, or decentralized exchanges. In fact, they're doing pretty good. So DEX has reached $42.6 billion worth of trading volume in Q3 of 2020. That was over a 1,000% increase over Q2. However, October saw figures pull back just a little bit from the September highs as Bitcoin prices started to pump, which recaptured traders' attention following the previous few months' decentralized finance, or DeFi, boom. So the share of volume between an ever-increasing number of competing DEXs is still fairly concentrated. In fact, up to 50% of trading still occurs on Uniswap, which is the granddaddy big kahuna, and almost 3/4 are accounted for by the top 3 exchanges. So even though there's a huge uptick, it's the big boys in the space that seem to be reaping the most of the benefits. However, that's not entirely true. 8 different decentralized exchanges topped $1 billion worth of trading volume in Q3 compared to 0 in the previous quarter. So yeah, even though it seems like the big boys are the ones benefiting, well, these little guys are still capturing quite a decent share, especially considering how small some of them are. They're definitely punching above their weight, in my opinion. Additionally, the rise of these DEXs alter the relationship between token projects and centralized exchanges. Previously, exchanges, the centralized ones, could demand large payments to list tokens. Now, with DeFi going on and DEXs taking a primary role, well, a growing role, you can just list your token in all the DEXs. And then you've got pretty darn good liquidity, and you can use that base to leverage a central exchange to list you. I mean, it's worked out pretty well for a bunch of people. You can point to the fact that Coinbase listed the Uniswap token like the day it went live, versus other centralized coins like Cardano having not made it to the main provider in the United States. However, even with the reported Q3 gains in trading volumes, DEXs still only account for 1.24% of the total spot market transactions for this period. So yeah, they're doing well, but they've got a long way to go before they take over the primary role. But the trending changes are good. DEXs do have a lot of benefits over centralized exchanges, but centralized exchanges do have benefits as well. I would highly suggest you do your research into both and see what's right for you. However, I will say, as just a general rule, if you're a beginner in crypto and you're not really sure what you're doing, I would skew towards a centralized exchange like Binance or Coinbase. And if you've got a bit more experience, and then that's where I'd look into a decentralized exchange that will have, with your knowledge, better rates for you and better command of your own money. That's just my opinion. Alrighty, well, let's hop on over here and talk about Silicon Valley real quick. Alright, so Bitcoin has exploded. We're sitting at over 15K right now, and some people are digging in and asking why that could be. Hence, we gotta talk about Silicon Valley. So key data points show that the uptrend has likely been fueled by smart money in the recent months. This means retail or mainstream investors like your mom, your dad, your cousins, your kids, and your co-workers have been largely on the sidelines. In 2017, when the price of Bitcoin hit an all-time high, the retail demand for it was at its peak. Not there yet, though. Because we can look at Google Trends. Interest is relatively low for the keyword Bitcoin, while on-chain data does support the hypothesis that smart money is buying it up. Moreover, according to on-chain analyst Willy Woo, who we'll reference a few times in this article, it has been mostly high net worth investors who have been purchasing Bitcoin. Grayscale comes to mind. The trend of whales front-running retail investors is optimistic because it shows Bitcoin is still in its nascent bull phase. Large capital from new retail and mainstream investors is yet to enter the crypto market. We're really hoping that as PayPal rolls out more and more support towards the end of the year, more and more people will be buying up Bitcoin as they have PayPal accounts and they notice this new crypto thing that's showing up. Every time they look, the number for Bitcoin gets higher and higher and higher, hitting that sweet FOMO, which will then push all of us who are in the market already into insane profit levels, ideally. Whales consistently buying Bitcoin over the past few months are pretty optimistic in and of itself. I mean, seriously, whales are buying up more Bitcoin than is being mined right now. So, yeah, makes sense. If the number of addresses containing large amount of Bitcoin increases, analysts consider it as an overall spike in new whales. A good example of this would be Square. They recently purchased $50 million worth of Bitcoin. They've made 50% profit on that, because if I remember right, they were buying that when it was around $10,000. So, dang. But yeah, Google Trends, it's quite an interesting thing. You can look at it to see who's searching for what and where. The search volume for the keyword Bitcoin is consistently low, and it's currently less than 10% compared to what it was at its peak in 2017. Nevertheless, while it's low, there's particularly high interest coming from states like Hawaii, California, Nevada, and Washington. Makes sense to me. And if you want to think about it this way, California and Hawaii rank as third and fourth in highest per capita income by state. Moreover, San Jose, San Francisco, California, Silicon Valley is ranked as the top metro region for Bitcoin interest, which is home to many, many high net worth investors and entrepreneurs who are heavily invested in the tech space. So that kind of makes sense. Basically, what this article is arguing is that we haven't even begun yet. Smart money is buying it up. Investors are buying it up. Whales are buying it up. And all that remains to be seen is when and how it's going to catch on in households. Now, in 2017, a lot of this happened over the holiday season as people went home for the holidays and spread it with their family and started talking about it. In this COVID world, I'm not sure how that will do. I know a lot of people are comfortable with associating with their large families still, but a lot of people are not due to a variety of different reasons. They have health issues that make them more likely to get COVID, or a specific example, like in my life, the wife and I have a newborn baby, yet we're not going to any large family gatherings. No offense, I'm not too worried about contracting COVID myself, but I really don't want my 2-week-old to get it. And a lot of people have similar situations like that. So family gatherings are going to be less. Travel is going to be less this year. So we'll see how that affects things, but I'm still pretty positive about it. But let's hop on over Ethereum. People are looking for it to break 800 in 2020. Personally, I think it's probably going to get into the $600 to $800 range. While I sincerely hope it breaks $800, heck, I hope it breaks $1,000. I don't quite see that happening this year, but I do think the fundamentals do support strong growth. So Ethereum is currently trading in the 440 to 450 range, depending on when you're looking at it. It's up 23.76% over the last 30 days. The crypto has come a long way since the beginning of the year. It was trading below 100. The beginning of its transition to a consensus protocol based on proof of stake seems poised to happen and poised to produce quite the supply shock in the market that could have a pretty positive impact on price. In that sense, trader Josh Rager, who this website does reference from time to time, has indicated that Ethereum has plenty of room to grow from this point. In the next few months, Ethereum could reach $700 to $800, according to him. Upon reviewing Ethereum's fundamentals, it is possible to find support for his bullish hypothesis. Glassnode data does indicate that the mean hash rate for Ethereum has hit an all-time high of 259 terahashes per second. And since the end of October, it has been setting new records in that metric. It did have a spike near 2018. It kind of drops off, and it's been going back and forth ever since. It actually recently surpassed its highs in 2018 to strike these new ones. Also, the open interest for Ethereum futures in Bitfinex reached a high of 8 months with a daily average of more than $18 million. As well as that, Ethereum's 2.0 phase 0 deposit contract just hit 10% saturation. So the deposit contract for the deployment of the Beacon chain, the proof of stake blockchain that will support Ethereum 2.0, was launched on November the 4th. The activation of the next phase requires that 524,288 Ethereum be locked into the contract. This is equivalent to about $200 million at the current price of ETH. Data from Dune Analytics show that 9.39% of the deposit contract has been completed, so about 50,000 Ethereum. It was sent in 1,500 transactions with over 232 unique depositors, with a tentative date of December 1st to obtain 100% of the required Ethereum. It's underway. Will it hit that by December 1st? I'm not sure, but basically what will happen is if they don't hit it on the 1st and hit it on the 3rd, they'll then launch Ethereum 2.0 on the 10th, so 7 days later. Ethereum's inventor, Vitalik Buterin, is one of the biggest contributors. He sent 3,200 Ethereum in 10 different transactions of 32 Ethereum each. He seems to be trying to boost investor confidence and increase the amount of Ethereum locked in the deposit contract. I'm kind of interested in it. I want to see exactly how this contract is working. It'd be kind of interesting to do if you have 32 Ethereum. But if the price of Ethereum rises enough, investors may be motivated to participate because you can't earn interest based on your stake. However, there is uncertainty about the rewards that investors will receive. They haven't been able to say an exact number. And the technical complications to configure a validator or node that not all platform users can overcome. I would be one of those people. If they can make it simpler or just drop a standard validator node like the Ethereum Foundation, like, hey, this is what we have worked up, and here's how you use it, here's how you configure it. Bam, that would make a lot more people who aren't as technically savvy willing to maybe try it out. I'm sure there will be plenty of Ethereum staking reward like pools that come online as things go along and it develops that people can hop into, but in the meantime, it's not something your average user is probably going to be able to do, but the knowledge that people are doing it could push it into that $800 range. Let's get to $500 first, in my opinion, but I do think we've got a decent shot, in part because the United States election dust is starting to settle. Now I'm going to say some people are not going to like what I'm about to read. That's fine. You are allowed to have whatever opinions you want. This is simply an article with an argument, and feel free to disagree with it. But while some in the community are continuing to question the outcome of the United States presidential election, most mainstream media outlets, the Associated Press, have definitively called the race for Joe Biden. In fact, most people in most industries, in fact, the stock market opened up pretty high on news of a coronavirus vaccine and the fact that we just know who the president-elect is. And actually, this could be good for crypto. So I want to focus in on this purely as something that is good for crypto. With uncertainty out of the way, traders and analysts are now looking to determine what a Biden administration will mean. They appeared to come to a loose consensus. There's still plenty of discussion ongoing that a president who says nothing about crypto is preferable to a president who actively disparages it. Yes, for those of you who don't know, Trump has said some not nice things about Bitcoin. Biden really hasn't said anything, though in either situation, it's not that huge of a deal what a president says. It does depend on what their appointees say, however. Qiao Wang, the lead at decentralized finance accelerator DeFi Alliance, cheered Trump's loss, noting the president had tweeted negatively about Bitcoin and Libra in the past. It makes sense. Investor Mike Novogratz concurred that a Democratic administration would be good for crypto, saying that an ongoing stimulus program would booster Bitcoin's anti-inflationary narrative. Yeah, Democrats are much more likely to push for stimulus, though with a Republican-controlled Senate, we'll see how much they're able to push through. Stimulus, stuff like that, would bolster that argument. Qiao Wang does say you could argue that Democrats are more likely to create inflation, which is good for Bitcoin. And again, I'm focusing in on this with crypto. I'm not saying one way or other who I support or anything like that. Just what people in the industry are kind of suggesting. At a macro level, Cointelegraph has previously reported that an incoming Biden administration may bolster markets as uncertainty settles and hopes for additional stimulus runs high, but likewise these efforts could cryptocurrencies via a stronger dollar. It's entirely possible. There's also been widespread speculation concerning crypto inclinations of key appointees in the forthcoming administration. Whoever the president nominates to posts will be more important than the incoming president's personal opinions. Or should Trump win the myriad of legal challenges he is filing, if he maintains course, nothing really changes. So basically, crypto isn't quite big enough for Biden to really have to worry about, but whoever he appoints will spend the next 4 years dealing with it. So that's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, but as Monday continues on, things are pretty positive in the markets. Some people are speculating that they would tank because of a Democratic president-elect, but Trump's, let's call it, eccentric Twitter rants and eccentric behavior, while it has contributed to a Republican administration that has been very good for the economy prior to COVID-19, the markets might be happy with Biden, who is a fairly centrist in the opinion of many Democrats, who's been friendly with big banks and has a long history in establishment Washington. So the markets are probably like, well, we'll probably be fine, though we'll see what happens as things go on. But that will do it for the trending articles in the crypto news space. As always, my name is John with Crypto Top 10. Let's take a look at the top 10 coins by market cap. Excluding Tether at number 3, all coins are in the red on the day, though Bitcoin and Ethereum are still up by over 10% on the week. Chainlink's up by over 10% on the week, and Cardano is up by over 10% on the week. After the insane run we had the past couple days, some pullback makes sense to me. I'm not too worried about it. Honestly, we'll be okay. We could pull back to $14, $13, even $12,500, and I wouldn't be too worried about it. The stage has been set for a rocket ship to the moon. In fact, looking at the biggest winner on the day, Decentraland, or Mana, is up 12% on the day and 40% on the week. I'm not really sure. In fact, the top 5 are protocols I've never really talked about or heard about before, other than maybe Near Protocol. So we'll see. Aave is up 75% on the week, which is pretty darn good. Biggest loser for the day. Biggest loser for the day is Solana. It's down 9% on the day, though it is still up 37% on the week. SushiSwap, ABC, CoinDecred, and Theta making up the rest of that. All in all, not too bad. But if you've made it to this point, you might as well subscribe if you haven't, and thank you if you have. Smash that like button if you're here on YouTube, and that's all I got. So peace out, Girl Scouts. See you tomorrow.